exactly the same on the court. Well, Chris Broussard is still with us. Now, I want to ask you, Chris, about how KD looked on the court. How close is Kevin Durant to being Kevin Durant?
Well, look, I had no concerns at all about Kevin Durant returning to form. And last night just confirmed that, you know, he was great. He was able to cut like he wanted to. He was aggressive. He had no hesitation. He obviously went to the rim and dunked it. He could get where he wanted to on the court. He could do his one-on-one moves and create space. Like, he did everything he wanted to do. But I'm going to say, with all that said, he still was only... That was maybe 70% of Kevin Durant, and I say it because he shot 7 for 16 from the floor against a team that's not a great defensive team. Draymond Green was on the bench, not on the floor. So for Kevin Durant to shoot 7 of 16, I think that shows that he was rusty, and he will shake that rust off, and that's when he really will be the guy that he was, you know, before the injury. I think he's going to make a run at the MVP award. And I see nothing to make me regret saying Brooklyn is the best team in the East, and that's who will face the Lakers in the finals. Kevin Durant was terrific.
He was. Chris, I also said this. I think of any superstar player that's ever suffered this injury, I think he was the best equipped to deal with it. Simple for the fact he's not a jumper, speed is not really in his game, and he's not heavy. Skip, he's not a 270-pound center. Right. Dude, I mean, he's 7 foot tall, probably weigh, what, 210, 220? So it wasn't going to affect him, say, like a leaper or a big guy, say a Shaq or one of those big guys like that, Skip. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with you, Chris. He looked a little rusty. He got off to the great start, first 3 shots, and then he goes 4-13. I'm not worried about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant always has been and always will be able to put the ball in the bucket. But as we progress, as the season goes along, the shots that he missed last night, he won't miss those shots. He's too good of a shooter. He still was able to get to his spots. He was able to put the ball on the floor. And like I said, Chris, I was telling Skip earlier, what I like to do, if a guy suffers an injury, okay, how did he suffer the injury? And will he go back to the very way he suffered the injury and make that same move? Or is his fear is it in the back of his head? I watched it. Not even a second thought in his mind. He's like, I'm good to go. And he was crossing over. He's planting, starting, and going. So I'm not worried about KD. I agree with you, Chris. I believe as the season progresses, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, Kevin Durant will look like the Kevin Durant the last time we saw him pre-Achilles injury.
So not only to me did Kevin Durant look like Kevin Durant last night, he looked like the best player on the planet. It looked like he's back.
You see how far he go, Chris? You see how far he go?
I'm sorry.
Give him an inch.
I saw nothing to make me skeptical at all of rust or hesitation. In fact, I watched Kevin on Friday night in his final preseason tune-up, and he was spectacular that night. Scored 25 in 23 minutes. Again, just a preseason game, but he is moving without any limitation that I see, any psychological limitation. It's not like he's favoring, protecting. I saw the same spring as always because, to your point, it's not explosive spring to start with.
Right.
I saw the same quickness I've always seen in Kevin because it's not extraordinary quickness to start with. He's 7 feet tall. He's a long 7-footer who can shoot threes like they're free throws with just effortless, just flick of the wrist threes. And what I loved about this team the most last night, I don't know why, under Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni, who, as I always said, it's Coach Antoni because there's no D in D'Antoni.
But Steve Nash definitely wouldn't play no D.
When they were together in Phoenix, that was the last thing they were thinking of is how do we defend? Well, you just outscore.
Right.
So last night, this team looked like it was committed to playing high-level defense. They were flying around on defense, starting with Kevin Durant. What number is he wearing now? 7? 7. I don't know where that came from. Mickey Mantle. I don't know what it is. But he went from 35 to 7. I started to say 35, but he's now 7. Every time I looked up, 7 was in the middle of something on defense. He had 3 steals last night in fairly modest minutes. That team looked like it's realized if you disrupt on defense, if you deflect, if you steal, if you block, Then all of a sudden you detonate the offense the other way, and they have the greenest light under Coach Nash, where they can just pull up on fast breaks, and anybody at any time can shoot a 3, 1-on-3 on a fast break. So to me, that team looks like a superpower already just on opening night. And I agree with what Chris said. There's no Draymond, obviously, and that was the worst team in basketball last year. They're starting a rookie center who had his moments late against the shock troops. But, hey, this Nets team is so deep and so explosive with Karis LeVert as the Manu Ginobili coming off the bench, bat out of hell, getting his minutes, getting whatever shot he wants, disrupting on defense as well. Man, to me, the bottom line was I sat back and said, number one, they don't need James Harden. They don't need to tear this team apart for James Harden because it's already the best team in the East, as you guys agree. And number two, if I'm Boston or if I'm Philly or I'm Toronto, I'm saying we got to try. We got to give up a little more to make sure we could close a deal for James because I think they all need James if they're going to compete with this team this year.
Chris, you see what he does? Skip is the type of guy that if you take him out to a nice dinner, you take him somewhere and you say, get what you want. He goes and orders the most expensive thing on the menu. Well, let me get the 12-ounce Kobe. Let me get the bottle of the Rothschild. Skip, if I take it, that doesn't.
I'm a cheap date.
That doesn't mean get everything you want. We just being hospitable. When we say, how does Kevin?
I just ordered chicken and broccoli. How expensive can that be?
The question was, how did Kevin Durant look? And what does he do? He look like the best player on the planet. Why not just go? You see how you ruined it?
Well, the quote-unquote best player on the planet, the GOAT that you tell me was out of shape because he's been drinking too much wine and smoking too many cigars.
Kevin Durant had 71 days. Okay. Kevin Durant had 18 months. Most of the teams had 9 months to get ready. He had 2 months. Come on, Skip.
He got every break in the world in the bubble. He got it all. It just fell right into his lap. You got to turn it around and close the deal. You got 3 or 4 more good years. You better max it.
Kawhi had an extra month of rest. Kawhi was supposed to be playing with us. Yeah. He got an extra month, didn't he, Chris? But anyway, Kevin Durant looked good.
Skip, you know, unless LeBron just falls off and just Father Time just grabs him by the neck and chokes him during the regular season, the only way Kevin Durant is going to take the best player in the world award from LeBron is to beat him in the finals. If they meet in the finals and LeBron's got AD, who is better than Kyrie, they both have good supporting cast, that's when Kevin Durant can take that mantle. But not on opening night. That's for darn sure.
Chris, he already did it twice in LeBron's house in Game 3s. He outplayed him twice.
With J.R. Smith is the second best player.
With a 73-win team.
Oh, stop it. They begged for Kevin to come and save them.
No, they didn't have to beg.
Draymond was crying on the phone because they lost a 3-1 lead. They should have lost to Cleveland in 2015, even without Kevin Love and Kyrie. They weren't that good without Kevin Durant.
But you do know Kevin Durant played for the private jet for them to come visit them in the Hamptons because he needed them as bad as they needed them.
Yeah.
You know that, Skip. So don't do this.
So you know what I also love about Kevin? I don't understand it, but I love it because it's Jordan-esque. He's always got some new weird chip on his shoulder, inexplicable chip.
Oh, you saw the interview last night?
Did you see it? Can we take
I thought it was just me, Skip.
I know.
I thought it was just me.
What was this? Did you see what he did to Barkley last night?
You know, Kevin, there was talk about you coming back for the playoffs last year. So you really just been working on your game, trying to get back your timing and conditioning, really, to be honest, correct?
Yeah. Come on, man. You know you been saying stuff, but we don't know you saying it. I've never seen anybody give you just a one-word answer, man.
Now he's got it in for Charles. I don't know why.
He was short with everybody except Ernie.
I know. Something's going on. But you know how he is.
But Skip, hold on. I was like, he really, is it just, maybe it's just me. But he was really, and then I was like, okay, He's
got some new bone to pick with those guys because they said one thing about him.
Maybe somebody said something within the time that he was injured.
I agree.
And maybe it didn't come from everybody, but he's like, KD strikes me as a guy, if you say something somebody says something and you don't defend it, you're basically co-signing it, so I got it in for you too. So Barkley might have said it. So he blaming Kenny and Shaq. Because they played. He leave Ernie out of the equation because Ernie doing what he does. But the other guys, I was like, well, dang, he really short. Maybe it's just me.
So he's motivated, which is why I picked him to win the MVP.
Because
it's going to be hard to have enough points and rebounds on that team.
Because you look at Paul George and how he did the interview, and you look at Kevin Durant, how Paul George expanded. You know, they asked him a question, he answered, and then expanded on it.
Did he? He was volunteering.
And then Charles even asked him about their preferential treatment. He said, Charles, hey, you've been in the league. You know when you put that work in, you get perks. You do.
Right.
The Katie interview was really the highlight for me. I love how they also acknowledged how short he was, but Katie pays attention to social media too much. Just focus on your game. Chris, we appreciate you joining us. This is going to be a fun season to look forward to. Next up, guys, did Washington just open the door further for the Cowboys to sneak into winning the NFC East? They're still in this thing. I'll explain.